13th of our Wednesday webinars. Thanks for your interest in Middlebury and thanks for tuning in tonight. It's 7 p.m. here in Vermont, but I know that we have students tuning in from all over the world and in different places in the country. So thanks for being here. You're here to witness a webinar about a unique and historic program at Middlebury called the FEB Enrollment Program. Students who enter at Middlebury at the beginning of a spring term in February are affectionately known as Febs, and they proudly affix a 0.5 to their graduation year to indicate their place in a FEB class, as you can see on our screen here tonight. My name is Karen Bartlett. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of International Admissions at Middlebury. I'm also a graduate of Middlebury College, as you can see, 1995.5. So you know why I happily volunteered to moderate tonight's FEB panel. In a minute, we'll have our students introduce themselves, and we'll then spend the remainder of our time together answering your questions. So feel free to start typing your questions into the question and answer box, and we will get to them after we do some introductions. But before we dive into the introductions, I want to highlight a few important distinctions about Middlebury's FEB program, because it really is a distinct program compared to other mid-year enrollment programs you may run across. Middlebury's been enrolling a FEB class for almost 50 years. The FEB class at Middlebury is usually between 90 and 100 students, so it's larger than most other mid-year enrollment programs. Applicants to Middlebury can indicate their entry semester preference on the application. This past year, 87% of our FEB class indicated a preference for February or were open to either February or September matriculation. FEBs are not second-class citizens at Middlebury. Each year, the arrival of the FEB class at the beginning of the spring term is cause for celebration. Middlebury hosts a FEB orientation, first-year seminars for FEBs, activities fair for joining clubs in the spring, and it holds spots in popular classes for FEBs. Your FEBmester does not need to be expensive or extravagant in order to be meaningful. What you do with your gap semester is completely up to you. Most FEBs do a combination of work and travel, service, spending time with family, reflecting, recharging after what may have been a stressful senior year. So without further ado, let's talk to our FEBs here, and we even have an alumni FEB joining us. And I'm going to start with Devin. We're going in order of seniority, so Devin, will you tell us a little bit about your FEB experience?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name's Devin McGrath-Conwell. I graduated class of 2018.5, which is hard to believe that it was almost 2 years ago, but that just gets realer every day. I'm from Saco, Maine, and that's where I am now. But during my time at Middlebury, I was a joint English and film major. I love both of those programs and would highly recommend each of them. Other than that, I was involved mostly in choir. I wrote for the campus, and with the help of Julia, who you'll hear from in a minute, had the chance to be super involved with FEB orientation, which was one of the highlights of my time at Middlebury and really solidified a lot of my FEB experience. But before I got to Middlebury, during my FEBmester, I stayed home and I worked, which was what I needed. As Karen said, the need to kind of recharge and spend a little time that wasn't just focused on a paper or this or running around. So you can do something that's more travel focused, as I'm sure others have, but it's also really okay to do the FEBmester at home. And I think that once I got to Middlebury, I talk a little bit about my favorite part of being a FEB. As Karen has said, it's a smaller group than the normal class year. And most of my best friends coming out of Middlebury were FEBs, just because you really bond with each other in that week of FEB orientation and going forward. And so that tight-knit community is something that I look back on a lot and am incredibly grateful for. So that's me, and I'm happy to answer any questions about any of that or what it's like to be graduated, which I don't want to think about too much, but we have to.
Thanks for being here, Devin. All right, Julia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Julia, and I am a member of the class of 2020.5, which means this is my final semester. I am a psychology major and an education studies minor from Ithaca, New York. And I've been working in the admissions office for about 3 years now, which is crazy. Like Devin said, I also have been very heavily involved in FEB orientation. I was the chair of it this last February. And so that was a really great time just to be so involved with such an awesome orientation program. I'm also a member of the club soccer team, the club running program, and am a volunteer with MidCam, which is Middlebury College Access Mentors. So I work at the local high school mentoring kids there. During my FEBmester, so I actually did not intend to be a FEB. I was admitted as a FEB and then all of a sudden had this time off to make a plan with. And I volunteered at home, worked at home for a little bit, and then I went to Spain for 2 months and lived with a host family and took some language classes there. So I kind of made a FEBmester out of a few different things, which I would definitely recommend because there's so many different things you can fit into that time. I also have loved the small cohort that the FEB class is, but to talk about another thing I've loved about being a FEB is having that extra summer. Whereas a lot of the class of 2020 graduated in May, we still had this summer where we weren't graduates quite yet, to get some other kind of experience under your belt. So I really appreciated that extra summer of my college career. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything else.
Great, thanks, Julia. Annie?
Hi, everybody. My name is Annie. I use she, her pronouns. I am a joint environmental studies biology major and a Russian language minor here at Mid. I am from Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm the class of 2020.5 with Julia and James, who you'll meet in a second. And something, on campus. I'm a tour guide here. I don't know if, obviously, that great intro, you can already tell. Do this all the time. I also am president of Feminist Action at Middlebury, a feminist activism club. I'm a Planned Parenthood Generation Action leader working with Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, which has been a really great volunteer experience. And especially during this time of election season, getting involved in that way has been really exciting over the past 3 years. I also dance in the only no cuts dance group on campus, Mid Musty. It is a South Asian dance group, super fun, very exciting. Yeah, I think that was actually two extracurricular activities, like 2 clubs I'm super passionate about that I was actually introduced to during my first week on campus during our FEB orientation. I got pretty sick and yet had the best time ever. I ended up becoming a FEB leader. Devin was actually my chair of that FEB orientation. Julie and I were FEB leaders together. It's a great time and a really exciting way to be introduced to an awesome, accepting, really exuberant group of people on campus. And I think that probably sums up my preferences for being a FEB. So, my FEBmester. I worked on a organic cooperative farm in St. Lucia, which is just north of Trinidad and Tobago, for 2 months, living with a family friends who lived there and started the farm. And then I went back to Baltimore with no plans and actually volunteered on several urban farms in Baltimore City, which was really exciting, getting to know urban agricultural and food systems, which really introduced me to a totally different discipline once I came to Middlebury, and really influenced my education and academic track here. And I also worked at a kindergarten and made a little money. So really exciting time. And yeah, I can answer any questions about, I guess, any of that.
Thanks, Annie. All right, James, tell us about your experience.
Hi everyone, my name is James. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm sorry for the weird lighting that's going on in my video right now. But I'm also in Julia and Annie's FEB class, so we are in our last semester this fall. And thinking back on my experience as a FEB, I would totally agree with what the others have said about kind of what the small group that you come in with gives you in terms of having a really tight-knit group of people that I think makes your transition to college just like really wonderful in ways that isn't necessarily accessible to everyone who comes in as part of a broader student body without that small group. And of course you can always find those groups elsewhere, but it is just like a really nice thing to have when you're starting college. On my FEBmester, I went to Central America with a sort of gap year travel group because I was interested in learning Spanish and history, and did that for about 3 months, and then did a little bit of what Devin was talking about in that I came back and worked. So like Annie said, you can really combine experiences during that time to fit whatever you need. And that was kind of what I shot for during my FEBmester. And at Middlebury, I have been an editor for the campus, which is Middlebury student newspaper. Pretty much since I arrived. I was a managing editor last year. And I was also on the varsity basketball team for 2 years. So if anyone has any questions about athletics or student orgs like the campus, or anything else I can answer, happy to help.
Thanks, James. Pim, tell us about your experience.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Pim Singhataraj. I use she, her pronouns. I'm class of 2021.5, so that means I'm a senior Feb, and I have 2 semesters left after this. I call Bangkok and Phuket, Thailand home. And my major is comparative literature with English and Spanish, and I have a minor in history. And on campus, I am co-president of Southeast Asian Society, SEASCs. I am a core organizer for Raisins, which is the Radical Asian Student Activism Collective. Asian American or Asian student activism. And I am on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee on SGA, on student government. And let's see, during my gap semester, I spent 2 months interning at Amnesty International Thailand in Bangkok, Thailand. Great activism internship. And then I spent 2 months in Europe, spent most of it in Spain, living with a host family, learning Spanish. I kind of see a theme with the Spanish here. And after that, traveled and visited some friends. Yeah, it was a good time. So I kind of did the traveling thing. And my favorite aspect of being a Feb, I think, is definitely taking that time off. Like, I was thinking of doing a gap year, and I was like, oh, maybe that's too long, so I'm gonna do a gap semester instead. And that, like, taking that gap semester was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Like, just have that time off to do things not related to school. Like, I hadn't done that in a while, so yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Pim. And Kale.
How's it going, y'all? My name is Kale. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm in the class of 2022.5, which means I'm a junior Feb. I'm almost halfway through my career here at Middlebury, and it's kind of scary. I'm originally from Grand Canyon National Park in northern Arizona, and it's definitely different climate. If you're from the Southwest and you want to know what it's like to go from a hot climate to a really cold climate, feel free to ask. I'm a molecular biology and biochemistry major and Russian language minor here at Middlebury. And my very first semester here, I joined the Middlebury Fire Department, and I'm currently a member where I'm actively taking fire calls and participating in trainings. I'm also in the Middlebury First Responders and our Russian and Eastern European club here on campus to promote Russian and Eastern European culture. During my FEBmester, I didn't choose to be a Feb either. I selected a little box on my application that said that I wanted either one. And honestly, it was one of the best experiences that I've had since grade school. We've been taught to say, go, 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 academics, academics, SAT, ACT, subject tests. It just gave me a good amount of time to reflect and really realize what I want out of life. And what I stayed home and worked for the Park Service as a wildlife technician and participated in a bunch of biological surveys. And I actually got a paper published through the Park Service as well.
Fantastic. So as you can see, Febs are well involved in the life of the school and the town, and there's really nothing holding you back once you get to Middlebury. Thanks so much for your thoughtful introductions. I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see contact information for each of the students and alums here. Feel free to email us or take a screenshot so that you can contact us later. And now we'll get into some of your questions.